This record preserves selections from poetry readings which were given by the League of Prince Edward Island Writers and Poets at a number of universities in central and maritime Canada. The readings were given mostly in the month of March 1973, Prince Edward Island's centennial year. The tour was funded by the Canada Council, very generously funded by the Canada Council, and we received some help from the University of Prince Edward Island. There were, and there are, 7 poets in all who belonged to the tour. At one point in Sackville, we substituted Finlay Martin for Ted Kulik. All these poets, except Finlay Martin, are and were in various ways attached to the University of Prince Edward Island. The first reader is John Smith, who was, until last year, 1972, Dean of Arts at the University of Prince Edward Island, and he now teaches courses in English there. The second reader is also in the English department, Frank Ledwell. In fact, he's the chairman of the English department, and he was until quite recently the editor of Catharsis, a literary magazine that did some magnificent service in the Maritimes, publishing unknown poets and writers, and carrying in its pages a number of drawings and sometimes photographs of paintings. After Frank, we have Leon Berrouard, who is a graduate of the University of Prince Edward Island, and he teaches English at King Cora High School. He also, incidentally, leads an excellent basketball team there. After Leon, we have Jim Hornby, another alumnus of the University of Prince Edward Island, and more recently he was a graduate student in the Department of English at Sir George Williams University. Following Jim, I read myself, Reshard Gool. I teach political philosophy at the University of Prince Edward Island, also a course in interdisciplinary studies which blends English English literature with political philosophy. I'm the editor of Square Deal Publications, a gentleman and scholar of high and robust humor, and I'm married to the Canadian graphic artist Hilda Woolnough. Following me is Ted Kulik, another English teacher like Leon Berrouard, and he graduated last year from the University of Prince Edward Island. Finally, to finish up, we have Larry LeClair, who is a student of creative writing at the University of Prince Edward Island. He's been in a number of university courses, among them my wife's. I've never had the opportunity of trying to fail him, but anyway, he's one of the most promising Prince Edward Island young writers. And perhaps I should say, finally, we managed to put this record together with very generous help and assistance from Carl Sentner at the CBC studios in Charlottetown.
Newfoundland. This was first a shore where they dried fish and drew fresh water in casks. Then there were streets of narrow houses, navigating as they could the Precambrian rock sides. Now there is a university, because it is government policy to invest in growth industries. Who among these scholarly countrymen, reclining on the olive slopes, will invent the Parthenon? Who will sit in the scented garden in the shade of the bow tree on the seat of Psalms? The wind blows a gale from the west all year long. Lichens suck the rocks, the spruces point one way. Whose skin will have rest, that he may feel another's breath, or his own blood unsyllabled, murmuring? The American Dream. When reported that America had not yet been discovered, America, he said, is a work of fiction. He took off his boots and lay down to sleep. He dreamt the Mississippi drainage system, the pursuit of happiness, Concord, Massachusetts, and men on the moon. He went on dreaming, past you and me, and more things than those, and he hasn't wakened yet. Did you read in the paper where they built a computer to replace cowboys? They've converted Greenland into a parking lot. They're equipping goaltenders with spherical hockey sticks. They're marketing perma-pressed pantyhose. They're bringing out a machine that will teach high school dropouts to read classical Sanskrit in 3 days, and an electronic device that will implant the wisdom of the ages in anybody's brain in a nanosecond, and a pill that will maintain the human entity in a state of continuous ecstasy. If everybody stopped breathing for a year, the energy saved would light New York City for a century. A Newfoundlander went parking with his girl. "Is that," she said, after some minutes of quiet emotion, "as far as you're going to go?" Whereupon he started the engine, stepped on the gas, and drove off a cliff. The trouble with modern man is that he has no style. That was the news, the day you said you loved me. Sandra, 8 p.m. How many teenage Saturday nights make up a life? Wear a flag for a dress, take the first drag from a pack, eat fudge from a bag, tie the tribal band round your hair. Daddy's gone a-hunting. The last exam lies over the horizon, where the noble savage bites the dust. How many comparisons of 2 Shakespearean characters of your choice in Marjorie Semple's English class till then? The star-spangled banner laps you round, the electric city is your philosophy, and you are the sole surviving redskin in Halifax County. Ah, so, walked among the sauropods in the susurrus of a Mesozoic swamp. He inhaled sparks of salt from the air. Fern spores spiced the backs of his hands. He read the hieroglyphic lizards, green on green. What is shall be, smiled Ah So, walking on naked feet, careful not to interrupt the sunlight.
The north shore of home. Barren capes bravely pursuing their way out to open sea at McIntyre's Cove, Newfrage, and Sutherland's Landing. Places passed over even by detailed maps, but places nevertheless, though serving perhaps no other purpose than to provide sheltered havens for inshore fishing boats. Capes unseeded and unplowed, left to shore-born crows, nesting next door to amphibious seagulls in ceaseless, peaceful coexistence. Capes, seawall strewn with windrowed driftwood, salt-cured, rakish abstractions heightened in their natural setting. Barren capes? No, not really. Cranberries and bayberries grow there, and mushrooms in season. And after stormy days, when frenzied seas have simmered down to gradual swells, when their shoals are banked with Irish moss, the men come down to reap the new harvest wrenched from the seafloor by angry waters. And these men that come are greeted by the gulls and crows as co-sharers of their things. The men, too, are salt-cured and rakish, and are passed over by detailed humanity. and later their women and children come down to gather in the cranberries and bayberries and mushrooms in season. Elegy for a Simple Man. How should I sing of you, Ambrose Hines, to the flinty ring of your hammer on the anvil's head as you arch a flat iron into a wheel shoe, or to the slower rhythm of your forge bellows churning the dusky coke to a crackling hue? For the poet's mind was in you, Ambrose Hines, in every tinkering motion of your shop, in steel on steel, in rasp against hoof, in nail against shoe, in the ring-a-ding-dings and the rat-a-tat-tats, and the whirs and the grinds of the forge behind, done to the smells of torrid rims on hickory cartwheels dressed, and the smouldering of horseshoes on hoofs impressed. Hines, wheelwright and blacksmith, the sign said over your door. Ambrose, not like your honey-throated patron of Milan, but Ambrosian craftsman who spoke with your hands, who shod an unbroken filly so smooth she flinched no muscle to your rasp and hammer, who fired a wheel hoop without singeing a hair on the back of your brawny hands. And gentle Ambrose, who'd sharpen our skates at our bidding, spitting on file and stone, you'd hone them to a razor's edge, the while regaling us in glee with your own fashioning of Mother Goose in parody. Oh, there was an old woman who lived in a boot. She had so many children she didn't give a hoot. Ambrose Hines, Pied Piper of our childhood, you drew us to your shop, to its tunes and smells, to stand in gangling denims to watch your wizardry, to see you move among your tools, each in its proper place, selecting first a hacksaw or a set of tongues, then returning them to exactly where they were, stopping only to take a chew of twist, Hickey and Nicholson's black braided twist, wrapped in brown paper and ready at your hip. You took it to the measure of your nose, as one might set a piece of lumber to the rule, and chawed a full 3 inches for your smithy's fuel before returning to the job at hand. In your shop, we never saw you as the dread Bluebeard who scared our dreams after an evening's reading at the fire, but come Saturday nights and Sundays you were he. Scourge of the village, you'd stumble and leer, striking fear into the hearts of man and beast. There's old Hines on it again, falling all over the road. A shame and a scandal in housewives' whispers. Little did they take into account that for months after your own wife's death, you'd go at night and throw yourself upon her grave. Your mourning was as colossal as your drink. You're gone now, Ambrose. Age stood for a time like an anvil on your head, till bowed, your bellows failed and your fire went out. Your shop careens in ruins there today, there being no horses left to shaw nor wheels to rim. And I, too, am long since from the village that forged us both. Yet I'm not long gone enough to forget you, nor to have lost the memory of your shop, a central shaping furnace of my youth, where molded were the early fires of truth.
Dream Elegy for Baseball and Walter. I turn away from lifetime love. I think of the past and my baseball glove. Down at the park with my friends all afternoon. My brother's at bat wearing his hat. The sun is shining and we're all stupid. Playing baseball every day, all afternoon, and going swimming sometimes. Complicated love, baseball glove, raspberry, strawberry, picker vine. Please be mine again. The ball went in the bushes. Let's go and find it. Kick the leaves and bushes and yell if you find it. How can we play? Sometimes I went away when the ball was lost. Games were good and bad, fun or not fun. Lots of run, run, run. I didn't have a gun and never dreamed of using a typewriter. Across the bridge in the other town, I had a friend and some hiding places. They were down by the river, and late in the afternoon, that's where we'd go. And not play ball, just be in danger, as our mothers would say. 'Cause in the 6th grade, a classmate drowned there, and we all went to the funeral parlor at 2:45 p.m. one day after school. Down the park with my glove and ball, with my brother and friends, all afternoon was the most fun. Walter drowned, and he never played ball, only read books, and went down to the river near his house. Toothbrush Trilogy. 1. My green toothbrush. My green toothbrush was almost a year old when it got lost. I loved my green toothbrush. 2. My blue toothbrush. I lost my blue toothbrush early in the summer along the Cabot Trail in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. It fell out of my back pocket. 3. My second green toothbrush. After I lost my first green one, I bought a nice hard blue one, but it got lost too. I was waiting for the ferry from Pictou to PEI and went into a restaurant and had a hot dog. Then I bought my second green one. The Taxidermist Poem. I told Karen that I was going to take her to a taxidermist. Then she told me she was going to take me to a psychiatrist. It began when our Siamese cat sat still and beautiful on our bookcase, and I thought, he almost looks like a stuffed animal. And jokingly I said, let's take him to a taxidermist so he'll always be like that. She said, oh, how would you like it if I took you to a taxidermist? And I thought, she is beautiful too. And that's when I told her I was going to take her to a taxidermist, and she told me she was going to take me to a psychiatrist.
Disguised as Leonard Cohen, reenacts his suicide at the Club A-Go-Go with neoteric and one and more than one. I too have read the list of survivors and missed my own name. I too have fallen from the ambulance of pride, gnashing at my costume with my mouth a perfect O, awaking in horror of muted stumps. Earlier, satyriasis. Yes, and I have risen heavily in the hearse of regret and told the driver to let me out at the corner, the bitterest irony, that I, who recognize parallax where others instigate visions, am on parole for hallucinating in public. In their hospitals, my bandages work themselves free, uncovering a jungle of eyes among the forests of my ribs. Then darkness welcomed me into its secret embraces, and I, Black Prince, did mingle with dreams in the heteroclite jungles beyond light. Later, she salved the wounds upon my throat and put me to bed. Ambition slinks from me into the lower bushes, like an animal that fears a hunter's gun. O you, who wear your god on your wrists like a bauble, you also fear the beast that doesn't bite you. Light all pathways from my heart, old lantern, for like the nude man I must befriend myself, and like my captors, always praying, I am never moved except to tears. Trees. Far too many people think the only good tree is a dead tree. Such people would rather chop than climb, rather carve than caress. These are very sick people. They regard trees with a wooden stare. Portmanteau. Rings on your fingers and rings in your eyes, coiling to another coast. The sky turns black. It does, it does. You turn away, clutching a black scarf to your head, retreat into a middle distance, clumsily, with portmanteau, a target for gallantries. Wish, wish, your hair, wish, the wind is always one direction. Your hair is a ship's pennant, a hesitant sail, your long dress collects wind. The eyes roll back into the head as you smile. You perfect such confusions of form. And what have you learned of your sailing? To dream. And from dreaming, only this, to panhandle and you won't get robbed. What things are appropriate to say of you? Shall we say that you have never wanted a lover, but to be one? Shall we suggest that you carry too much mental baggage? Who presumes to touch a hand conditioned by leather, a mind that opens in the middle like a slithy old familiar book? Portmanteau, itinerant stickers boasts. Madame, flesh-colored memories equally transient, rings her long fingers in the cafes, and clutching at her napkin or her hair, speaks hoarsely of love. Her face, photographed only in shadow, is no adornment to memory. She has anyone's face in the scrapbook she fills. Once, passion's flower was stolen without care. Now her cold heart beats against a stranger's breast. Her dreams are olive rings around a moon.
In Medusa's eye. Thoughts like pipe smoke add your face to universal mirrors of reason, rob identity of outline, rather as a factory city ages with pollutions, nearby yellows of cornfields. Into grey you shrink sunlight, knowledge as Faust did, into the philosopher's stone. You run doubt or tobacco spittle between teeth of each rusty pause of memory. Thus like the pelican devour your young, like the magic phoenix burn, white bleeding and smoking ruin of self with oil and water, strangely mixed. You die, yet grow. Arm clocks, who are others, with casual midnight. You espouse a Last Supper, plague of washed feet in wine of eternal return. You are pierced by absurdity. First fire, then lips of smoke, out of a poem's snow. Soledad. A glance ago, I measured love by pain. The quiet of my brown and immortal hands pours upon soft grace your face and hair. And in this distance from my death and yours, hands empty as this poem, filled with words. Utopia. At times wretched, at times hopeful, I watch bodiless minutes stain loins with church longing. To own so little, to be so much without, computes mortal tenure in robberies, days without hours, minutes. Must I eat apples with no shape, apples like words? Must my capital be the emptied forest, your name on my tongue, an echo descending, swooping shrilly with open beak? Imagining your shy, upright grace, must instant poison always seethe between my legs, drip among photographic chemicals to emerge like slow footprints, long before pilgrims tread over the fat corpse you have made of my prudence, of my patience, over the fierce clock you madly planted between my loins, helpless, without hands, ticking like a bomb. Give me back Eden, the green grave where each embrace recycles sacred flesh. The final paradox for Hilda. Crowds in this final paradox your poem, love testament to your beginning, your being, camouflage of woman, round pert of bird. Then now and then the miracle, two other authors, one already dead, crowed and gloated over. Yet a public plucks bone-bare being. Flocks of minutes rise in between each fall of rising breast, home backwards. Each time's another time. Love certified flutters in birth's cage of death. The bottom. Anna Livia Pluribel fell one morning down a well. Fell and fell and fell and fell. Couldn't tell how far she fell till she hit the bottom. Anna Livia Pluribel lay in bed for quite a spell. Bum all plaster in a shell. Won't be up until she's well, 'cause she hit the bottom. Anna Livia, what's its name, thinks it is a bleeding shame. There is no one she can blame. Feels that all in life is rotten, now that she has lost her bottom.
Where were you? Where were you when the sun shone through my ribs and the crow cast longer shadows? Were you harvesting corn with blue fingers? Or were you in the hollows where the frost crept and the gloom inside the cattails was deep, and higher moonbeams cut the pond's thin ice? Was it you I saw downtown, clawing through trash? When I sought shelter inside my own throat, where were you? This side of darkness, when did you find that the system of the tongue was not the final answer? When the dog barked and the gate remained shut? What was it you sought from sealed lips? the rhythm of your body in time with the universe, the motive behind the pressure of the hand? When was it you realized that the idiot also sighs as he sleeps? Was it when you remembered your own womb body and felt the image of it receding? Felt again the darkness of enclosure in fluids from a common lung? Was it then that you walked toward midnight, touched by the fingers of so many children that even their stifled sobs were as unintelligible as the scream that suffocated when your numbed tongue refused to move some time before the sun rose? Returning, because I can't blame anyone for the silence that returns through blue arteries between intervals of light and darkness, I've felt the marrow shiver beneath this fist whose fingers spread through bruised capillaries. Because I can't blame anyone, I've transcended the cells that multiply in mirrors, that linger along blue edges, one-dimensional suicides. Because I've touched the mind's lips and remember the words of the silver-haired yogi squatting on crushed toes, remember the blood that burst from my fingertips when I was a child, how can I blame anyone for the veins that beat in my temples, for the blood that looks for a way out? Intervals. Through the still bare branches, the sky is like shattered glass. At intervals, a crow drifts past, lazily tracing the wind current. In its anxiety, the mind trespasses. Already the eye articulates clouds. The sun spins downward. The moon kisses the earth's rim. We are filled with familiar sorrow. Birds sway silent in the branches. The worms come up beneath our feet. Tomorrow we will be scattered like seed across the galaxies. Where do we go from here, boss? A white hunter, perspiring under rolls of fat, lifts the engraved double barrel, the work of a craftsman far away in England, and fires into the face of the charging rhinoceros, whose face resembles mine, the sweating fat bastard of my dreams, whose fantasies of property resemble mine, and the orphan duck who took me as his mother and followed me to the shoreline of an unknown sea.
Charlottetown. Madam, last night your cannon chased me, running like Cain all over the park. Finally, I stopped, winded, sweating in this city of slashed throats. Lady, this is to inform you that the pity freak who used to redeal all that pain has been murdered. I took him to my secret place, gave him a final blessing, then beat him to death with the crutches he needed so badly. For you see, I could feel the city drowning someone, yet I sat with you and played the rubber games of honesty amid the faces asleep in despair. For I thought it was just the pity freak screaming for shelter. I had no idea the city was drowning my brother and laughing my name. My only enemy is pain now, and I can fight it well, if you stop hurting and if I go away. How to be a poet. Jaunty ingrate, your job is to be improper as well as obsessed. Slant your perversions just enough to confuse them, yet maintain your gifted role. If you want, undo your zipper. When someone mentions it, scream you're trying to be free. Be caught weeping in all well-known street corners, yet laugh when asked why. When outwitted in conversation, reply in terse voice something of a lost golden Atlantis. And you shall be the poet, and tinker deviously with men, and wince like a martyr when striking a raw nerve. But what if we all had your license? All of us, crying bare-assed on some corner, or screaming at passing cars, full of poets, crying about the end. What I am. I still ply my trade with authority. These fingers that infect fill the silent space between reason and wonder with the strength of a leering gull. I am confessor for lost youth, magician of broken dream. I conduct these dry symphonies of sorrow for an audience of one, pausing at the height of the velvet stair to choke down demons of rage that have never been and cannot ever be again. A reply to Officer Muldoon. Me? Yes, sir. Well, let's see. I remember she told me a blue-green story with a tiger stripe ending, and I thought, should I be cruel, empty my pockets here on the table? I didn't, but merely wept my favorite tale of boys from the woods and the magic they knew. And she thought, am I a virgin, or is he merely evil? Then I laughed some smoke rings, though I knew I was lost, and she heated needles to tattoo an anchor which burned me with tears as it grew on my eye. Then she called it handsome, but I hated sailing, so I called her sadness, and she called me fame. Then I thought of dying, so I broke all her mirrors, but she'd sinned inside me and burned all my past. And I remember outside in the night-time, rows of sports fans loved our war games, till she grabbed my armpit and screamed, "Stop your crying." But I wasn't hungry, so I reached for my bullwhip. Yet I found I was chained and my feet were on fire. Then she danced like stallions while I smashed her windows, but she did calm my fever while taking me higher. And finally we stopped, in wait of the morning, where we painted our names on the rims of the sky. Then I watched her closely as she became sunlight. Then back came her normal, and I saw her explode. And those, officer, are about the only memories I have of the night the alligators slid back up the sewers of New York, bent on recapturing their city. Elegy for William Harvey. When the great Lord Tundra Jesus comes down to get his people on this here island, he won't be looking for no tourist traps, and he won't be looking for no centennial bumper stickers, and he won't be looking for no cigar-smoking American tourists. He'll be looking for the kind of man like Bill Harvey you see lying there who died last night. Bill with his one good eye and t'other he lost and he's working in the woods. Now there's a man could roll a smoke with one hand and open a beer in his last good tooth with the other. And dance, Jesus Murphy knew 131 steps and he learnt every one in the army. And speaking of the army, I remember when Lester Pearson was trying to give us this new flag, I was sitting in the Ellerslie Legion with Bill having a beer, and I looked at him and I said, "Bill, what do you think of this new maple leaf idea?" He looked at me and he said, "Raish," he always called me Raish. He said, "Raish, you're a veteran, ain't you?" And I said, "Yes, Bill, I am." Well, he says, "You know, God damn well we fought and died for that flag in the last war, and they can't take her from us now." That's the kind of man Bill Harvey was. And now look at yous. Yous are sitting there and yous are moaning, yous are groaning, yous are tearing your hair, and yous are saying, "Poor Bill. Oh, my God, Bill. What's going to become of you, Bill?" Well, I'll tell yous. When the good, gentle Jesus comes down from his cross to get his people on this here island, he'll pass by you and me 10,000 times just to get a hold of Bill.